This is Grunt to Groan, sales lessons learned from professional wrestling. Coming to you from the fabulous Delaware Wrestling Thunderdome, I'm your host, Benjamin Burrows.
I am one voice that stands alone. I am one choice to man the throne. Stand guard and take shots, give it all I got. All I got is this microphone. I am
Reach for the sky, boy.
Hey, everybody, this is Billy Gunn.
Hi, this is Glasgow, Delaware Kit Kat.
Hey, it's me, the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
This is the Birdman Coco Beware.
In Macho Madness, yeah. Growing, and more seductive than sex.
To me, they are the greatest tag team in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Hey, this is the NWA World's Heavyweight Wrestling Champion, the National Treasure, Nick Holden.
Woo! It's the Nature Boy. Woo!
While you may see me out there shaking my ass, you can guarantee on May 25th, I'll be kicking it too.
This is Tito Santana, WWE Hall of Famer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one of the founding fathers of All In, the executive vice president of All Elite, Cody!
And what you gonna do when Hulkamania and the largest arms in the world destroy you?
Hi, folks out there. I'm Princess Clark, and I never listen to Grunt to Groan with Benjamin Burrows.
Ah, yes, indeed. Nobody listening to Grunt to Groan, sales lessons learned for professional wrestling. Nobody but you. And you are the great American thunder on which this nation rolls, because nothing happens until something is sold, until you sell it. It is a great and glorious day to be out selling your products and your services. And I had a request to play Princess Clark there one more time. Last episode of Grunt to Groan, I said she sounded pissed off. Yeah, this is Princess Clark. I never listened to Grunt to Groan. Sales lessons learned for professional wrestling. So we had a request this week to play her again. So there you go. There's Princess Clark, never listening to Grunt to Groan, sales lessons learned from professional wrestling. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to follow us and to listen to Grunt to Groan, sales lessons learned from professional wrestling. And if you would like to be part of our intro there, if you would like to be the one saying you never listen to Grunt to Groan, sales lessons learned from professional wrestling, well, email me at greatamericanthunder@gmail.com. We'll get you recorded, we'll get you set up, and you too will be podcasted to the tens and tens of followers that we have each and every week on this elite podcast. Want to thank Dave the Ray for producing us. He is here today. The staff of Grunt to Groan is here. We are at the fabulous Delaware Wrestling Thunderdome. Want to thank Sonny Thunder and the Sons of Thunder for their hospitality. And I'm your host, Benjamin Burrows. Hey, don't forget, you can pick up the book, Grunt to Groan, Sales Lessons Learned from Professional Wrestling, at all the .coms, BarnesandNobles.com, Walmart.com, or my favorite, Amazon.com. Pick the book up, Grunt to Groan, Sales Lessons Learned from Professional Wrestling. You can also pick up our Grunt to Groan merchandise at Amazon.com. It helps support what we do in building the Grunt to Groan Nation, keeping the Grunt to Groan podcast afloat, and the work on our second book. Yes, I'm working on book number 2, a second Grunt to Groan book. And it's going to deal with professional wrestlers who made an impact in the professional wrestling industry who were over the age of 50, and how sales professionals who are over the age of 50 can make a important and vital impact on your sales force. Now, this is something that's near and dear to me. We're laying the outline right now. The Grunt to Groan staff is doing research. We're looking possibly around November, December for that book to come out. It'll be our second Grunt to Groan book. But support us on the first one. Go to Amazon, buy the book. And if you would like to advertise on this elite podcast, one of the best, according to the critics who rate the worst of the worst, you can advertise to our tens and tens of followers right here. Email me. We'll send you out a rate card. GreatAmericanThunder@gmail.com. That's GreatAmericanThunder@gmail.com. We'll write you a script. We'll put together a commercial for you. We'll run it by you, make sure it's something that you would like to have on our podcast. And by the way, here's one of our fine production pieces right here. Dig that crazy music.
You get a quick tan with QT, a double tan, you see, it tans you anytime, rain or shine when you use QT.
QT Fabulous Quick Tanning Lotion by Coppertone gives you a double tan. Used as directed, QT tans you indoors without the sun, smoothly and evenly, in just 3 to 5 hours.
Yeah, that's our fine production staff there. Our Grunt to Groan singers. That's a real professional announcer right there. I'm telling you.
Use QT in the sun. Your tan becomes deeper, richer, helps prevent sunburn, too.
You get a quicker tan, a double tan when you use QT.
Guaranteed by Coppertone.
Yes, that's one of the fine production pieces you can expect from the Grunt to Groan staff. The staff are holding their fingers up at me, waving hello, that California high, as the Beverly Hillbillies would say. Now, that's an old commercial I pulled offline. I'm sure you figured that out, and I'm sure you guessed that. But, yes, if you want to advertise on this fine podcast, please let us know, and we'll write you a script, and we'll produce you a commercial, and you too can reach the tens and tens of followers that we have on the Grunt to Groan podcast. Email me at greatamericanthunder@gmail.com. I want to pick up this week where we left off with our book of the month. And our book of the month last week was, for the month of March, The Road Warriors, Danger, Death, and the Rush of Wrestling. It was written by Joe Animal Laurinaitis with Andrew William Wright. And I tied the book into professional sales because the Road Warriors were a great partnership. And go back and listen to last week's episode 37 of Grunt to Groan, and you'll get the gist that we shouldn't be looking for customers. We should be looking for client partners, and we should be looking for partners that are willing to invest in us as much as we are willing to invest in them. So go back and take a look at it. But in thinking about this book this week and some of the things that Joe, the Animal Laurinaitis, wrote, I got to thinking there's an important story, an important lesson in this book for sales professionals to learn. What a rush! Yes, professional sales can be a rush. Thank you, Dave, the Ray, for throwing that in. But that's not the lesson that I think is valuable here. You know, one of the topics I wrote about in the book, Grunt to Groan, Sales Lessons Learned from Professional Wrestling, is that to be a successful sales professional, you have to be willing to do what your customer or your competition can't. You have to be willing to do what your competition can't and won't do. Now, I want that to sink in for a minute. And my mind is racing pretty quickly right now. So I have a tendency to speak a little faster than my mouth will allow. But I want that to sink in. If you truly want to be successful in your marketplace and you want to separate yourself from your competitors, do what your competition won't and what your competition
What a rush!
And one of the lessons learned from the Road Warriors book, Danger, Death, and the Rush of Wrestling, is that they created a multi-million-dollar brand doing something that nobody else would do. The brand was Zumaz. And again, if you are a fan of the 1980s, you will know the phenomenon known as Zumbas. And Zumbas was those crazy pants, man. They were wild looking. And they had the tiger stripes. They were in the colors of all the NFL teams. You could buy them at some of the finest stores in the world. And this was an idea of Joe Laurinaitis, Road Warrior Animal. And this is from their book. This is from the Road Warriors, Danger, Death, and the Rush of Wrestling. I'd been thinking of how I wanted to invest my money for quite some time and still had no idea what to do until one fateful afternoon at the legendary Twin Cities gym, wearing a big baggy pair of bodybuilding pants I picked up on tour somewhere. I went strolling in for a quick workout. When I got there, Hawk and two of the sales guys, Dan Stock and Bob Truex, took notice of my pants and they asked me about them. Now, the Road Warriors were big, bulky professional wrestlers. They were borderline bodybuilders. And they trained differently, and they had different gifts, as we discussed in last week's episode. But these were big guys. Now, I'm 6'4", 245. And I have folks tell me all the time, you're a big dude. Well, let me tell you, the first time I saw the Road Warriors live and in person, I felt tiny. I felt small. These guys were huge. So you can imagine having this big, thick bodybuilder's build and trying to find clothes that fit and were comfortable. And more importantly, trying to find clothes that would fit and be comfortable when you worked out. Now, I work out. I don't have this issue, though. So again, from the book, Joe writes, after I told them, I mentioned how I was sick and tired of trying to find comfortable clothes that could actually fit guys like me. Remember, these are bodybuilders. These are big dudes. Whenever I went to a big and tall store, the pants I'd find, they would fit over my legs, and they would have something like a 48-inch waist. So they'd fit his legs, but not his waist. The only places I found pants that really fit well and were active enough for my lifestyle were at the gym. As I was explaining the background of the pants, it was like a light bulb went off all over our heads at the same time. Why don't we make our own versions of these things? So the long and short of it is, they decided to do something that nobody else was doing. They had a young lady at the Twin Cities gym who was a seamstress. They gave her some designs. She constructed the first few pair of these Zumos pants. And they were an instant hit. The Road Warriors invested $75,000 each in a company called Warrior Distributing Corp. They came up with the name Zumos, which was gym lingo for in your face. And when they started distributing these pants, they started in their very own gym, the Twin Cities Gym, the legendary Twin Cities Gym. And in the first month, made $13,000 just selling these clothes through that gym's store. That's when they decided to branch out. They took out an ad, a mail order ad on the back of Muscle and Fitness magazine, and 6 months later, Zumos, the clothing line, was available for purchase in stores like JCPenney's, Macy's, and Foot Locker. Zumos was everywhere. The NFL approved them. Jim McMahon, from the Super Bowl winning world champion Chicago Bears, wore Zumos. It turned into a $20 million clothing line. Now, my point in this is that, yes, this was a great idea. And, yes, it filled a need. But the basic concept and the basic idea of Zumos came because nobody else in the marketplace was doing it. Nobody else in the marketplace could or would not do this. And Zumos immediately separated itself from all the other workout clothing that was available. And as a sales professional, that is a lesson that we should learn from. That when our competition isn't willing to do something, we should be excited to do it. Recently, I was at a client, and he was looking for a particular product, and his current vendor was telling him some BS story about why the product wasn't available, but that his company could get it. And 6 weeks into it, my client came to me and said, "Your competitor's having an issue with this." Well, I did something that my competition wasn't willing to do. I actually researched the product. I went directly to the manufacturer to research the product. And I found out that that product was discontinued over 12 months ago. They had no stock. They couldn't fulfill any orders for it. So then I did something my competition did not do because I was armed with good information. I provided my client with an alternative that the manufacturer actually suggested. And you know who got the order? I did. I was willing to do something, even though this was small, I was willing to do something that my competition was not willing to do. It's not that they couldn't have done it. They just didn't want to do it. And it solidifies my position with the client. So the lesson, again, from the Road Warriors, Animal and Hawk, one of the most dominant tag teams ever in professional wrestling, is that if you want to beat your competition and you want to win more sales, do what your competitors can't and what they won't. And we're going to wrap up this podcast of Grunt to Groan. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to listen to us and to follow us. Continue to share our podcast with your friends and other sales professionals. Remember, you can email me at greatamericanthunder@gmail.com. That's greatamericanthunder@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Great American Thunder, at Real Ben Burrows, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I want to thank everybody this past week who connected with me on LinkedIn at Benjamin Burrows. Don't forget, you are the great American Thunder on which this nation rolls, because nothing happens until something is sold, until you sell it. So quit listening to me and get out there, sell something.
Voice that stands alone. I am one choice to man the throne. Stand guard and take shots. Give it all I got. All I got is this microphone.